listening to the Narrative Podcast with Halsey Allen. The Narrative Podcast is changing the narrative one episode at a time.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Narrative Podcast. The Narrative Podcast is the home of original people peace, original people reciprocity, and original people positivity. And I am your host, Halsey Allen. Welcome to the Narrative Podcast. Welcome all my narrators. The Narrative Podcast promotes positive self-images of original people and original people culture. So top of the top, everybody. Today is a wonderful Wednesday. It's hump day. We're over the hump. Weekend right around the corner. So staying true to what I do. I made a promise that I'm going to make my presence more pronounced during the weekday. I'm going to start doing more weekday uploads of the Narrative Podcast in an effort to increase positivity on the airwaves, because we just got way too much negativity coming out of our community. I'm not trying to police content creators, like get your money, but we need to have more options on the table, because nobody wants to hear all this negativity all the time and see all this negativity all the time. So that's what I'm trying to do, is just increase production on this podcast, because this podcast is dedicated to the upliftment and edification of original people. So welcome to the Narrative Podcast. Hope everybody's enjoying their day, making plans for the weekend, doing something productive. So now that I got that out the way, just want to get interpersonal with my audience before diving into the content. What I usually do, my narrators, they're my regular listening audience. They already know my demonstration. They already know my format. They already know all the things I'll be discussing on the podcast. So, how I usually start things off is just to bring up the new people up to speed who aren't familiar with me or my podcast, just by walking you through a brief overview of the format, telling you my mission statement and, what I'm trying to accomplish with this podcast. So going right into that synopsis, where I got one little, some good news before diving into the synopsis, and then I'll dive into the content after the synopsis of the Narrative Podcast. But up first, if you did not know, there's a sister named Shonda Rhimes is doing a documentary on Netflix coming up on Juneteenth about Black Barbie. So that's slated to premiere on Juneteenth, which is, I believe, in the June. I have to do my goos, because I don't really celebrate that for a whole different other reason. But yeah, the sister's name is Shonda Rhimes, Rhimes. She's also produced other stuff on Netflix, like The Scandal of Bridgeton. And now she's back with another special. This is basically like the hype surrounding, the invention of Black Barbie. And I'm thinking she's going to do the documentary from the inclusion perspective. because it's all about inclusion. It's all about, self-esteem and imaging, positive frames of reference, for our young ladies. They can have a product that looks similar to them. So I think that's what the documentary is going to be about. If you want to know more about the Black Barbie documentary, go to becauseofthem.com, and it should pop right on up. But we're gonna clap it up for the Black Barbie documentary coming up on Juneteenth on Netflix. Go support that. Watch it with your young ladies, your daughters, your nieces, whoever, a young female family member or loved one. And I think it said it's on Juneteenth. So it would be June 19th, I believe, is Juneteenth. Yeah. It's June 19th, my bad. So go check out for that documentary. Go support the Black Barbie documentary on Netflix, coming to you on June 19th. But now diving into the synopsis of the Narrator podcast. So as I said, I'm going to walk you through a brief overview before diving into the content. So let's start at the top. Tippy, the name. I named my podcast the Narrative Podcast because I don't like the false narrative that the media weaves about original people and original people culture. So what I wanted to do to counter the media's intentional misrepresentation of our people and our culture is to design a platform where uplifting and edifying our people, and also bringing awareness to people within our culture of how important it is to, utilize our platforms responsibly to put out the best images of ourselves as much as we possibly can, and, bring awareness as to why. And I get into the why pretty soon. Well, the why is just because the media, they intentionally do it. They only provide people outside of our culture with negative frames of reference about our people and our culture. And I delve a little deeper into as why they do that in just a second. But I think that was a perfect segue for my tagline. The Narrator Podcast, changing the narrative one episode at a time by destroying negative stereotypes about original people and original people culture. How do I destroy the negative stereotypes about our people and our culture? By providing positive frames of reference about our people and our culture. And that's entirely what the Narrative Podcast is all about, providing the listening audience with positive frames of reference about original people and original people culture. Which brings me to my next point of the Narrator Podcast. Here I call my target listening audience my narrators. And the reason why is because we live in a digital information age. The relevance of me referring to my listening audience as narrators, we all have some type of platform, and every digital platform we occupy, we can upload content, a brief bio about ourselves. So in essence, like everybody online, is, sharing their own personal story or telling or narrating their bio. So, as original people, that's what that's why I call my target listening audience my narrators. We need to be narrating our own stories online, because if history hasn't taught us anything, it's taught us this. If you don't tell your own story will be told for you. And that's precisely what is being done to our people. Our story is being told for us, and it's being told for us in a negative fashion. The media, paints us out to be despots, low in intelligence, savage, disenfranchised, broken, just the worst of the worst, bottom of the barrel. That's how they portray us in the media. So to counter that, what we should be doing is reclaiming our power by telling our own stories. We can't help what people outside of our culture think about us. We can't help how they perceive us. But what we can control is, the type of content that we put out, the type of information we put out about us. We can't control all the other false information circulating around us, the preconceived misconceptions about our people. We can't control that. The powers that be control that. But what we can control is, what we decide, what we consciously decide to share about ourselves online. And that's how we change the narrative in that sense. And that's why I call my target listening audience my narrators. Just a group of people telling their own stories in a positive way. So, what we want to do as narrators, we want to make ourselves the heroes because the media vilifies us. We want to put out the best image we can possibly be, online, whether it's Facebook, whether it's YouTube, whether it's TikTok, whether it's Rumble. You want to see us engaged in some positive type of activity, taking care of our family, positive family structure, being a pillar in the community, doing something positive and impactful in our community, teaching our children, respecting our elders, doing something for them, being just the best you can possibly be, putting your best foot forward online instead of embracing these negative stigmas and stereotypes that the media places over us. We don't want to embrace the stereotype of the gangbanger. We don't want to embrace the negative stereotype of the pimp, the pusher, the addict. We don't want to embrace the negative stereotype of, the criminal, just somebody walking around committing crimes, for money or just because they think it's funny. So we don't want to embrace that online. We don't want to stamp that. We want to put out positive self-images about ourselves at all times. That's why I call my target listening audience my narrators. Not to be confused with moderators. A moderator is somebody that regulates a platform. So like if you got a YouTube channel or a Facebook channel, a moderator's duty is just to kind of regulate, weed out bots and troublemakers so they don't get your channel demonetized or canceled altogether. But your task as a narrator would be to just put out positive frames of reference about our people and our culture. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be about what a celebrity's doing. It could be about what you're doing in your own personal life, how you give back, something positive. It could just be as simple as, getting up, going to work, like having like good attendance at work, having a good day at work if you're a 9-to-5er, but impacting your world in your community in a positive way. That's what I mean by narrator. Telling and illustrating and narrating positive scenarios. Instead of embracing these negative stereotypes. You don't want to, keep on embracing the twerker and the Instagram model and the thought for the females and for the fellas. We don't want to embrace the negative stereotype of the gangbanger, the gangster, the thief, the drug dealer. The robber. So yeah, that's why I call my target listening audience my narrators. So quick point, like I said, we want to, as narrators, we want to try to reverse the narrative by putting out them positive frames of reference, because the media puts out the negative frames of reference. So the reason why they do that is because they're controlled by the powers that be. Who are the powers that be? The powers that be are the higher echelon, elite class, wealthy white people who control everything, all the all the resources in the world. And basically, are the gatekeepers, and they want to have this little exclusive club that they don't want anybody else in unless they meet the criteria. And the criteria is like, 6 figures or better, definitely white. I mean, we got a few of us trying to get into this elite club, but they're like just, they're in it, but they're not in it. Like they're not, they're not card carrying members of the elite club. They're just kind of there. Token members. But they want to just basically push this false image of, eloquence and, sophistication and class and refinements. They want to make themselves the face of that. And to, maintain that image, what they try to do is manipulate the media to, make themselves look refined, make themselves look cultured, fancy, by making everyone else look destitute and desperate, dusted and disgusted and dusty when compared to them and their lifestyles. And they glorify, life in excess. They represent, that 6-figure lifestyle. Just they represent capitalism. They represent mass spending, just spending money just because you got it. That's what they represent, like the lifestyles of the rich and famous. That's the image they want to promote and endorse, and they want to worship status symbols. They want to worship the mansion. They want to worship the yacht and the country club and all these other status symbols, and they want to make us believe that we need these status symbols as well in order to be important. That's why they have all these status symbols, to make themselves appear important, like like their circle is where you want to be. And like I said, they use the media to do that, to make everybody else look poor and, just clueless and just like going through the motions, and like you need all those things to be happy and live a prosperous life. But you don't. And our people is a reflection of that. They do that to everybody. They vilify everybody with the media. But they especially do it to our people, original people, because we are the natural people, the ones connected to nature, and we don't need all them things to be happy, to thrive and survive. And, you know, we're a reminder of that. And it's like, you know, I don't need a yacht to be fly. I don't need a mansion to be stylish. I don't need, you know, all these status symbols to be a trendsetter. That's what we represent as a people. And all the wealth that they got, they can't, you know, they can't buy what we got, that natural vibe that we just have, that natural pizzazz we have. And, you know, we're just a reminder that you don't need all those things to, you know, lead a good life. And ultimately, you know, they know we're the most impactful, influential people on the planet. Like, everybody follows our lead. And when we start, you know, dialing in and tapping in, it's like, I'm not going to buy that just because I got some money. Then that'll set a trend for everybody else to say, hey, you know, I'm not going to buy that just because I got some money. And all these other classes start waking up and stop trying to, you know, live life like the Kardashians and the Hiltons and all these wealthy elite type class people, and they'll be satisfied just with their normal life and, you know, not be supporting all these brands that will strengthen their empire, and that will be the collapse of their empire. And that's why they don't like us so much, and why they're constantly keep using the media to vilify us. Another reason why they do it is because they are historians. They're aware of their history, and they're aware of our history. You know, they know without us, they never could have existed. Without us, they never would have acquired their financial wealth. Without us, they never would have acquired, you know, systemic power. And so if they get us out the way, they could, you know, stay at the top of the mountain. That's why they keep on targeting us, why they're so hell-bent on destroying our image. And their biggest fear is, you know, once we stop, you know, fighting amongst each other and start unifying and start reclaiming everything they took and everything they're currently taking from us, that we would turn around and do to them what they've done and what they're currently doing to us. But, you know, that'll never happen because that's not the true nature of who we are as a people. So next order of business about the Narrator podcast. This is a positive space. I don't engage in gossip, slander, degradation, or, you know, any negative banter as it relates or concerns our people. This podcast is dedicated to upliftment and enlightenment of our people. I'm trying to, you know, build bridges, not build fences. I'm trying to unify us as a people and just, you know, normalize being normal by putting out positive frames about our people and our culture, and encourage and all my listening audience to do the same. Bring awareness to that, of why it's so important to do that. And it's important to do that because we're constantly under fire. We're constantly being bombarded with negativity about our people and our culture. So, you know, yeah, that's why I exist in this space, to do that, to encourage that, not to feed into the negativity and fan the flames of negativity by spreading gossip, spreading rumors, or, circulating any type of content that a brother or sister listen to and kind of feel bad about themselves. So it's all about, uplifting and edifying our people and setting the tone for positivity. That's what the Narrator podcast is really all about. I don't do any negativity or gossip. However, I do, I do speak on public, what's trending, hot button topics. What's the latest news, whether it's globally, whether it's nationally, whether it's just something specifically within our community, from our perspective. I talk about that, and then I may, in talking about that, probably bring up a famous person's name, but it's never to clout chase or to tear them down. It's really just to illustrate a point, and the point that I'm constantly making here on this platform is the why. It's like, okay, negative things happen within our community, but here's why. This person that just happens to be a rapper, a singer, or a public figure or whatever is going through all this because, here's why. And the why usually is, has something to do with systemic oppression, because like the powers that be program and condition us to behave in a certain manner, that manipulate and pull strings with the media to, warp and twist the narrative. And, so that's the only reason why I would bring up a famous person's name, just to put it in proper context from our perspective as original people, never to like clout chase or, insert my name into the conversation or nothing like that. Because if I was all about the clicks and the CPMs and all that, I'd have been quit. Because this podcast stuff is just you gotta be super duper on it if you're trying to make millions doing it. So I'm on a mission. Next order of business, this is a time-sensitive platform. I try not to exceed 1 hour per broadcast, and the reason why I'm doing that is because it's an all-audio platform. I don't want to, lose my listening audience by basically talking in circles and being boring. I want to keep it fresh and cohesive, and I want, my listening audience to stay attentive, and I can't, do that if I'm just, I can't keep my listening audience attentive. I'm just talking in circles and, just arbitrarily ranting without a rhyme or reason to anything I'm discussing. So I gotta keep it short, keep it sweet, to the point. I want all my content to be applicable, keep it practical. I want people to be able to use what I'm speaking about. I don't want people to have to clear their entire schedule to catch up on an episode of the Narrator podcast, because it's just so darn long. So yeah, that's why I try to not exceed 1 hour per broadcast. It's just basically to keep the content fluid, keep it flowing, and definitely not lose my listening audience by boring them to sleep. So I want to try to make it engaging, entertaining, and also, intellectually stimulating. In the last order of business for the Narrator podcast, before diving into the content this evening on this platform, I refer to our people, black people, as original people. And the reason why I refer to our people as original people, first reason, it has historical significance behind it. We were and are the original people of this planet. We existed on every single continent, all over the world. Like, we was there first, especially here in the Americas. That's just what I mean by original people. That's the significance of that. Just basically, when I'm referring to our people as original people, on the historical side of it, just meaning we was here first. Not only was we here first, we invented everything, and everything came from us. We mother and father civilization. Everything that now is because of us, the original people. And like a couple sub points that I want to tack on to that, being on the historical side of it, a false narrative keeps on getting perpetuated about slavery. The powers that be want to try to make that seem like that's the most poignant, relevant part of our existence as original people, slavery. While slavery did happen, while it was, brutal and barbarous and, not something, very damaging to us. It's just a whole lot of misnomers about it. First misnomer, it didn't, go on for hundreds of years. Second misnomer, especially here in the Americas, not everybody being the original people. Like, we inhabited every corner of the globe, and we didn't get to all these places on slave boats. Like, the original people, they was already inhabiting all these places. And people that didn't look like them started calling them something else and started subjugating them and enslaving them. And, that's how that went. So like I said, slavery did happen, but the years that they kept on actually going to the continent of Africa and physically removing people from Africa to all these other places on the route of chattel slavery is just greatly exaggerated, especially here in the Americas. Like, a large concentration of us just was already here. Large concentration of us was already all throughout, Latin America. Like, every Spanish-speaking nation you can think of, it was already a large concentration of us already located there. There's no such thing as an Afro anything. There's no such thing as an Afro anything. Like, there's no such thing as an Afro-Latino. There's no such thing as an Afro-Mexican. There's no such thing as an Afro-Chinese, Afro-Colombian, Cuban, whatever. That's just the original people already residing in that area. Anybody that is dark, lighter than the Afro, whatever, they're the colonizers. They're the ones that wasn't, originally from that land. So there's no such thing as an Afro, Latino. That's just like the dark-skinned people in those regions. They was already just inhabiting that place, and they didn't get there on a slave boat. The majority of them didn't. Some of them did, but not all of them. Some of us did here in America come over on slave boats, but not all of us. The majority of us was already here. So that's what I mean when I refer to our people as original people on the historical side of it. And then on the second end of it, what I mean by what I say when I refer to our people, black people, as original people, is unity. Because like I said, we inhabit every single, corner of the globe, including Europe, including Canada and France and Germany and places like that. We was already there, but we're a very diverse people. We hail from different land masses, speak different languages, have different ideological. I'm choking on a big word. You know what I'm trying to say. We all have different perspectives. Viewpoints. We all believe in different things. We all subscribe to different, philosophies. We all look different. We all have different flesh tones. But, the one thing we all have in common is that we're all original. We can all trace our lineage back to the original point of origin for all civilization. We all possess high concentrations of, carbon, aka melanin, which is the life source of our people. So, there's that. So that unifies us as a people by referring to us as original. That's like putting, an end to all that separation and division within our community if we just have one universal thing that we call ourselves. Because, everybody refers to themselves as their nationality. I'm Jamaican, I'm Haitian, I'm Trini, I'm Nigerian, I'm from Ghana, and whatever. But everybody outside of our culture, all they call us is black. But that's why I refer to our people as original people here on the Narrative Podcast. You as the listener, you can refer to yourself as whatever you want to. If you like, calling yourself black, go right on ahead. Black is beautiful. Go right on ahead. Keep on calling yourself black. Keep on calling yourself, by your nationality. If you want to. Call yourself whatever you want to. But, here on the Narrative Podcast, I refer to our people as original people and encourage all my listening audience to do the same. While it is not mandatory, I do try to encourage that. That I think I cleared up all the misnomers about the Narrative Podcast. If I glazed over anything or kind of missed something, or you might not be too clear about, what I'm trying to present here in this space, you can definitely, I'm 300 episodes in. You can definitely download this episode and all previously recorded episodes of the Narrative Podcast, wherever you get your podcast information from, and just kind of educate yourself on the uptake. Have you a binge listening party to catch yourself up with the uptake of the Narrative Podcast, and you should see the elevation and the progression since episode 1 on up to now. So you should, fill in all the blanks from there. So without any further ado, I'm going to dive right on into the content. This is another weekday episode of the Narrative Podcast. And on my weekday episodes, what I tend to do to stay true to my mission statement, which is to put out positive frames of reference about our people and our culture. And the way I do that during the weekday is share positive news articles that came across my feed in reference to our people and our culture. Because what I'm trying to do is basically pull up the receipt that positive things do happen in our community, because it's the media's job. They have an agenda to just make us feel down and depressed all the time, and make us feel like there's no way out, that we're just stuck in this little continuous loop. And by me sharing the positive frames of reference about our people and our culture, I'm showing you that we do have entrepreneurs within our community, or telling you rather, since this is an all audio platform, I'm demonstrating that we do have scholars within our community. We do have people who are affluent in wealth. We do have people building things, bringing about change, in the soil, being for the community, doing positive, impactful things that will uplift us and edify us, not just destroy us. Because that's what the media they keep on showing these images of us destroying each other. And so what tends to happen is we kind of on a subconscious level absorb that and start acting that out. Like there's no way out of it. Why even try? Why even roll out of bed? I'm always going to be, stuck in the ghetto. I'm always going to be, not, on the short end of the stick for the 9-to-5 thing. That's what they want us to feel like constantly, 24 hours a day. They're like, we never catch a break. That's what they want our subconscious. That's how they want it to register in our minds. And we kind of, on a subconscious level, emulate, that information that they embed into us. So by me sharing positive news articles, that's just putting positivity out in the atmosphere. That's inspiring. That's motivating. And, that's striking a blow to these negative news articles and all this negative news coming, that concerns our people, about our people all the time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. By me sharing these positive news articles, what I'm saying is like I'm providing that glimmer of hope. Like, yes, positive things happen in our community. We have excellence happening within our community. We got brothers and sisters unifying, progressing. We love each other, always in the media, we're always at odds. So like, that's why I provide the positive news articles to dispel all these negative stereotypes and stigmas. And then later on, I'm going to do some commentary after I'm done with the news articles. Now, I can't promise you, like I said, I'm trying to make my presence more pronounced during the weekday with my uploads, but I can't always promise I'm going to do commentary too, because if I'm do 3 uploads, I want a full episode on the weekend. So to keep it fresh, during the weekday, there's bound to be 1 or 2 episodes without, commentary. It'd just be only news articles, especially if it's back to back. So this is a back to back episode because I uploaded an episode on Tuesday. So here's Wednesday's episode. I do got something I just want to slightly glaze over, but for the most part, I got some positive news articles. I usually have 3 to 6, but like I said, I'm trying to, do more episodes during the weekday. So I just got 3 really quick ones that I want to share with you. And then I'm going to dive into the commentary, and then I'm going to leave you all for, this evening. First article of the evening here on the Narrator podcast. The headline reads, Entrepreneur becomes the only black female chiropractor with 3 clinics in Dallas, Texas area. And the sister's name is Dr. Tamia Guest. She's the CEO of Rejuvenating Chiropractic. And she's making history with 3 Dallas, Fort Worth locations, aiding patients, patient recovery for 10 years. Dr. Guest Clinics offers tailored chiropractic care, nutrition guidance, and holistic methods. She prioritizes individualized patient well-being for optimal health. She aims to become Dallas's top accident chiropractor, forging partnerships with local attorneys to ensure smooth insurance claims. So let's give a warm Narrator podcast round of applause for our sister, Dr. Tamia Guest, and her chiropractic practice in Dallas, Texas. All right, up next on the Narrator podcast, the next article during the weekday episode of the Narrator podcast. The headline reads, Empowering Black Dad buys gifts, they got to word it funny, but I swear this is what it says in the headline. Empowering Black Dad buys, gifts his 13-year-old son 40 acres of land in California. San Diego entrepreneur Fahim Muhammad gifts his 13-year-old son 40 acres, underscoring the importance of land ownership and general wealth. Muhammad, co-founder of real estate firm, bought the land in 2021 as a rural retreat from city life. Inspired by his mother, Amina Muhammad values property ownership. He gifted his son 40 acres on March 16th. So let's give it up for our brother Fahim Muhammad for teaching his son the value of a tangible asset and providing him with generational wealth, because that land's going to be here even when he's gone. He can leave it to his son can leave it to his son. They can develop communities on that land, and keep our people thriving, keeping people within their family thriving. So he made them, realize the truly important things of life, not status symbols. And my last article of the evening here on the Narrator podcast. The headline reads, 14-year-old teen creates innovative watch that can detect signs of a stroke. And the young sister's name is Naya Ellis. She's 14, from New Orleans, and she invented Winglet. And it's a wristwatch that detects stroke signs, inspired by her family health struggles. Winglet utilizes advanced tech to detect strokes early. Naya aims for affordability, aiding seniors lacking access to pricey monitors. Naya shines in National STEM Challenge Preps for DC Showcase, starts high school. She dreams of inventions, softball, and medical career. So let's give it up for young sister Naya Ellis and her creative invention, winglets. Well, that's all the articles I have this evening, family. So keep it positive, keep it impactful. I'm asking you to become a narrator, put them positive frames of reference out in the atmosphere, whether you're on Facebook, whether you're on X, formerly known as Twitter, whether you're on Tumblr, whether you're on, whatever platform, digital platform that you occupy. Make sure you're putting out something positive. All my content creators out there in social media land, upload positive content when it comes to your brother and your sister. Like, we don't need to shut down for 9 weeks as a people, when a scandal was going on within our community. Like, the internet just shuts down. We talk about the scandal for 8 and 9 weeks, just on a subconscious level, preying on whoever is involved in the scandal, preying on their downfall, praying that they just keep on spiraling down after the media blitz is over with. We need to be uplifting and edifying ourselves at all times, speaking highly of one another on social media and across all digital platforms. So, help me keep the ball rolling, become a narrator, put out them positive frames of reference to negate these negative frames of reference that the media constantly keeps on bombarding us with. Now, on to my next section of the Narrator podcast, the commentary section. And in the commentary section, or final word of the day, not final word of the day. I guess I think I call it the commentary section. I keep on just switching what I call it when I'm delivering commentary on current issues. But so up next is my commentary section. And I'm just talking about, a trending topic happening in the world. It could be globally, it could be national news. It could be just something within our community when I'm delivering commentary. The reason why I break it down is basically to control the narrative, because the media have us looking and sounding crazy. They'll try to spin it to where we're arguing with each other and taking shots at each other and trying to cause division within our community about the topic. So, that's why I deliver commentary on whatever is happening in the world, is just basically to control the narrative and break it down from our perspective, whatever is happening, or attempt to, because sometimes I can't make heads or tails of the situation myself. So do my very best to. So the commentary I'm delivering this evening on the Narrative Podcast is a situation involving, our brother Curtis Jackson, his stage name 50 Cent. He took to social media and basically shared the stats of, the gun violence that's happening in Chicago. And longer story short, I'm not going to give a direct quote about what he put on Twitter, but he's just basically on his end of it is we need to do something about the gun violence in Chicago. And then of course, the internet kind of, they went to town on him. There's well, your music, your violent lyrics, you got your nerve to talk about what's, happening in Chicago when your lyrics are so violent. incite most of the violence happening in Chicago, because like a lot of them young people is listening to your lyrics and trying to emulate, that. So that's, the people online clapping at 50, that's their perspective on his perspective. And then some other rappers from Chicago started chiming in as well, Young Berg and a few more, or I guess he goes by Hitmaker now. So basically it was a social media post. I had to pull it up because I'm not trying to quote it directly, but just for full context. He basically, he says, "This ain't gangster." He's calling for an end to gun violence in his post. He's just like retweeting it or whatever. At least 31 people have been shot, 6 fatally in gun violence across Chicago just over the weekend, police said. But basically, longer story short, he's just basically online showing his concern about gun violence in Chicago. And then, of course, the internet, they had their perspective, other rappers chiming in on it. And, this is one of them situations, everybody's kind of right. A false narrative that we keep on, taking the banana in the tailpipe as a people is subscribing to the statistics. Because the people that conduct surveys and statistics are the people that want to control the narrative. Like, it's no such thing as black on black crime. Crime is crime. And that's what all the Chicago rappers, that's their point that they're chiming in on. They're saying Chicago ain't no worse than any other, crime laden city. All the big cities are violent, which they also have a relevant point. 50 is from South Side Jamaica, Queens, so he knows, he ain't no stranger to danger. It's violent in his neck of the woods too. I'm pretty sure if the article had it been about, South Side Jamaica, Queens, he probably would have said something similar too. I don't think he's just like subscribing to the notion that Chicago is the most dangerous city in the United States. Like, all big cities are dangerous. Like, now even small rural cities, mostly rural cities, are starting to become dangerous as far as gun violence. The reason why gun violence is on the rise everywhere, all over the world, is because, it's being promoted. It's being promoted in movies. It's being promoted in music. It's always been promoted in country western music. But, like hip hop gets to blame for it. But, gun violence is heavily promoted. And now with the digital media, we're always seeing these ads pop up, these push ads to purchase a gun, different purveyors where you can get a gun at, all in your face. So, constantly being stigmatized. Don't leave the crib without your blicky. You better carry it with you. This is what we're constantly being fed, that we need it. We need it. We need a firearm. We need a firearm. They're just constantly embedding that into our psyche. And so when you live in big cities like that, vibration of you need to protect yourself gets embedded into your psyche, and, you go into a form of fight or flight, So is Chicago violent? Yes. Oh, yes, it's very violent. It's not just violent for our people, though. It's violent for everybody that lives there. It's violent for white people. It's violent for Asian people. It's violent for Italian people. It's violent for Spanish people. It's violent for everybody that lives there. And then let's not also forget, Chicago is the birthplace of organized crime. Like the mafia that started in Chicago. Chicago's always been violent from the beginning. So, but what the media wants to do, they want to fixate on hip hop, the drill music coming out of Chicago. You know, they want to make them the scapegoat for all this violence happening in the city. On all them Chicago rappers that are young brothers between ages of 16 to, 24. And affiliated with different gangs. Most of them is Gangster Disciples. And, that's, the whole gist of it. Now, so I don't think people should be trying to put words in like 50 Cent's mouth. Like, I think the brother just is really at a point in his life where he's trying to turn the corner and not be the same guy he was running around, Jamaica, Queens. And he's catching flack for it. And I just hate that we do that within our community when somebody's really trying to make a change within themselves and really trying to impact, people around them. So to inspire them not to go down the road they went. So to me, that's my perspective on his comment, him chiming in. He's saying like, yo, it's getting out of hand. This is crazy just in the weekend. And it is crazy. But, you can pull up them same stats in a white part of Chicago. You can pull up them same stats in the Asian part of Chicago. You can pull up them same stats in, different ethnicities. Like, it's like the media is ran by the powers that be, so they're always going to try to make it look like wherever we stay is the absolute worst. So that's what everybody else that's chiming in and saying is like, the media is just trying to make it look worse than what it really is. I live here. I'm from here. I know what I'm talking about. Yeah, it's bad, but, it's bad everywhere. And it is bad everywhere. Any city you go to is bad. If you're a new face in any city in the United States these days, you're not going to have a easy transition. But definitely, I hope what comes out of this is an open dialogue, because he definitely has the resources to give Chicago what the city of Chicago needs for our youth, for all the people involved in these unalivings due to gun violence, because, I don't subscribe to religion anymore, but a true saying that a Christian saying we have within our community, it rings very, very true. Idle time is the playground for the devil. And a lot of unalivings that happen in Chicago because of our youth, it's just really because they're bored and they ain't got nothing to do. They're listening to these, rap lyrics with no supervision. And they're going out trying to act them out. They're bored. They ain't got nothing to do. To get a firearm is very easy. So they're walking around strapped up. I ain't got nothing to do. I'm going to just blow it just because it's on my hip, because I want to hear the sound go off. I'm young and I'm wild and I'm going to do what I want. But if there was more after school activities, things to occupy their time, they'd be less susceptible to be hanging out on the corner and just shooting at people and unaliving people just because they're bored. And like 50 Cent has the resources to do that, to collab with some, local rappers or whoever from Chicago Just be like, yo, what does the city need? Where is it real bad at? Like, we need a community center. We need, a vocational training facility. We need some, after school programs. We need something for the city to cut down on the mess. And he can definitely do it in his own hood as well, in New York City. And so, like, I think they was just taking his comment out of context. I don't think he was saying like Chicago was the worst city in the world. He's just saying like, yo, it's bad. It's bad. Which is precisely what the media wanted him to think, and anybody that reads it, yo, this is bad. All these people died in the weekend, and that's how the powers that be manipulate the media to make it seem like anywhere we live is just way worse than what it really is. They want to exaggerate the circumstances. They want to, stoke the numbers. So now on the positive side, they do this when we do positive things as well. The very first Million Man March, there was well over 1 million original men in attendance for the very first Million Man March. However, surveyors, people doing air quotes, stats, they reported it back in newspapers and other forms of medium that it was only like a couple 100,000. It was like jam packed. It wasn't even that packed when rest his soul, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King made his iconic I Have the Dream speech. They didn't even have that many people in attendance compared to the Million Man March. It was 1 million brothers coming together on peace, but they want to manipulate the stats. They want to marginalize it and downplay it like only 100,000 goes. So like the powers that be that manipulate the stats. Another way they manipulate the stats. Have you ever noticed every time there's a new disease coming out, a new illness or a new sickness, they always make our people, original men, black men, the face of whatever the disease is. Always, without fail. I challenge you. Like, look up the information online. You can go on YouTube right now, and I guarantee your feed will kind of read like this. Like all the commercials say, black men between ages 18 to 40 are highly susceptible, or the most susceptible to like cancer, most susceptible to high blood pressure, diabetes, whatever. There's statistical research, and then us as a people, like, we just sit up there and trust these people. Where are they getting their information from? Who studied it? They said studies have shown. What studies? What university? You know what I'm saying? We don't like challenge the stats. Another example of how they rob us with inaccurate statistical data is the life expectancy of a young black male. From 1991 to 1994, do you know what the average life expectancy of a young black male was? It was 23 years old. And Tupac Shakur put it in a verse, actually. In his iconic Me Against the World album, he had a track on there called, I think, Death Around the Corner. And in a bar of that song, he said, I wonder, will I make it to C23? So like that's how they program and condition us with these statistics. They just constantly tell us something. They say studies have shown, surveys is conducted. Who's conducting the surveys? Who's conducting these studies? People that don't want to see us survive, thrive, and grow. That's who's doing it. They're always going to conduct it from a negative space because we got scholars within our community and we can like pull up receipts to counter, whatever that study that said that, because we got different communities too. We got databases too, but we don't often as a people do that, go to our scholars to, challenge their stats. We just take their stats as law and, really deprive ourselves of living a prosperous life because, the powers that be, white people, they just said it's this and we accepted it as that without challenging it. But I think what happened in that instance, it was just friendly fire. The brother gave his opinion. He definitely got the resources to bring about change. I don't think he meant any disrespect. I don't think with his statement he was like intentionally saying, Chicago's getting out of hand and it's worse than any other city in the United States. I'm just saying like it is bad. So if you got the resources to improve a bad situation, why not improve a bad situation? He was using his platform, bringing awareness to it, in the effort to wake up people that live in that area because they've been probably desensitized to it. And just like, which is also the agenda to desensitize us to violence. The violence happens around us so much. You know what I mean? Like, oh, bro, like, you all flinching off a gunshot? No lie, the area where I grew up, like every single weekend, without fail, gunshots. We had to get down every single weekend. House got shot up like every other weekend. Totally desensitized to gunshots. Like they used to shoot out the street lights to have the whole block dark. But so like moral of the story is bad everywhere. No such thing as black crime. The powers that be manipulate stats. So before we accept statistical data on our people and our culture about anything, about gun violence, about health, we must do the knowledge to, before we like comment on it, do the knowledge first, see where the information is coming from before fully subscribing to what these studies and these surveys show. Because the studies and the surveys will show what the powers that be wants them to show. And so that's it. That's my 2 cents on 50 cent in that scenario. And that'll conclude this episode of the Narrator Podcast, weekday edition. I don't think I'm going to do another one this week. So I'm going to try to start off slow, staying true to my commitment to make my presence more pronounced during the weekday. But so I might just increase it every available day that I have the broadcast, I'm starting off with 2, then I'm probably going to go up to 3. And then if I got 4 days, and if I got, you know what I mean? I'm going to just try to broadcast every available day that I have the broadcast, but I'm taking it nice and slow. Thank you all for listening. And like I said, you know, it's up to all of us to put out the positive frames of reference about our people and our culture. Utilize your platforms in a constructive, positive way. You know, it's impossible. I'm not saying like, you know, that would be folly to just say you can be positive 24/7, 7 days a week. Nobody just wakes up happy and goes to bed happy. But, you know, we should start at least trying, because like all we do is subscribe to the nonsense. We feed into the negativity. We spread the negativity. And like, that's all I'm saying. We should make a conscious effort to promote and push positivity within our community, and we'll start seeing more change. You know, because even though the media is ran by the wicked powers that be, or rather the powers that shouldn't be, a more accurate portrayal of these people, this elite society. At the core of it, it's business. It's supply and demand. As long as we, you know, as a people show that we're interested in degeneracy, show that we're interested in lewdness, show that we're interested in toxicity, these corporations are going to keep on providing lewdness, toxicity, and degeneracy. It's supply and demand. It's, you know, sales, product. They're going to keep on cranking out that product of degeneracy as long as our people show that we're interested in it. So that's what I mean by, you know, trying to put out as much positive frames of reference you possibly can on your own platform. I mean, you're a grown man, you're a grown woman, you can post whatever you feel like on your platform. That's your God-given right to do that. But as an original man or original woman, you know, we're always being looked at, we're always being scrutinized. So at the very least, try to dedicate one positive, you know, upload to whatever space you occupy. All right, that'll do it for this episode of the Narrator Podcast. Now, keep in mind, you know, I'm making the effort to increase my weekday episodes of the Narrator Podcast. So just keep your ears tuned into podcast land, wherever you get your podcast fix from. To always keep up with the latest upload of the Narrator Podcast, what you will want to do is subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is Halsey Allen on YouTube. Hit the subscription button and the notification all button. And then also follow me on X as well. X, formerly known as Twitter. I don't think they have a notification setting for X. But you will be fully informed on the latest episode of the Narrative Podcast if you follow me on any of them two mediums, because the platform that I transmit my broadcast from, like right when I'm done recording, it automatically uploads to YouTube and X. So if you follow me on YouTube and X, you'll always be up to date with the most recent episode of the Narrative Podcast. But definitely join me this weekend for a full episode of the Narrative Podcast. I don't think I'm going to do another one this week, but definitely I'm going to start doing more episodes during the weekday. The only difference between my weekday episode and my weekend episode is like I have more sections on the weekend. So on my weekend episode of the Narrative Podcast, like during the weekday, I can do articles and commentary. I replaced the articles with a section called the highlight section. And then my commentary is more towards the end of the episode. And then I have another section after the highlight section called the spotlight section. In the spotlight section, what I'm doing is I'm basically spotlighting a prominent figure within our community that's impacting us in a positive way. And then after the spotlight section, I got a health and wellness section. In that section, what I'm doing is I'm giving health and wellness tips. And then after the health and wellness section, then is the commentary section. And then after the commentary section, then I close it out by giving a wise word of wisdom. And that's the only real difference between my weekend and my weekday episode, is just more sections during the weekend. But definitely check me out this weekend for a full episode of the Narrator Podcast. This episode of the Narrator Podcast is officially over. Also, check out my book of poetry that I've written. It's titled The Black Card. It's available on the medium called poetizer.com. Poetizer.com is a community for writers, especially of the poetry genre of writing. It's really for all writers, but they emphasize, poetry. People that write short stories and compositions too, and people that like to journal. Just, that type of community. Now, what they have on poetizer.com is a special feature that will allow you to transform your art into a book. And that's what I did on poetizer.com. I turned my art into a book. They have a virtual online bookstore where you can go to purchase books written by people in that community, poetizer.com. So, go to poetizer.com, go to their virtual online bookstore and purchase my book, The Black Card, written by me, Halsey Allen. And The Black Card is basically a snapshot. It's an all-comprehensive look about us as a people. Everything we go through as a people, both positive and negative. All our trials and tribulations as a people. It's just an all-encompassing look of us as a people, like everything, we experience as original people. Basically, like it's a survival guide, a how-to, a 101 guide, a survival guide. So, it'll make a good gift, coffee table read, travel book, chill book. Definitely go to poetizer.com and purchase your copy of The Black Card today, or get your black card revoked. And then also I have my own personal poetry blog on blogger.com. And the link to it is www.mrhallziesblogs.com. And the tagline for it is Hallzies Poetry Corner, poetry with a passion, poetry for all occasions. And the poetry featured on Hallzies blog is written by me, Halsey Allen. The unique thing about it is just how innovative the poems are, how intricate their poems are. They're real intentional. And they're intentional, but I wasn't intentional when I wrote them. They're what makes them special when unique is that they were spontaneously written. All the poems on Hallzies Poetry Corner, I write all the way off the cuff. I'm not giving any thought to what I'm writing. No subject matter. I'm not giving no thought on the title. Any images that I might have used on there, it's just pure kinetic creativity. I'm not thinking at all, but the poems are so just detailed and intricate. You would think from reading them, you would think that like I drafted them and I put them, up on the blog, but nah, that's just not the case. I literally wrote all those poems off the cuff, and that's the special thing about the poems on that blog. So they're comparable to like in hip hop, like a freestyle rap or spoken word poetry, but it's like in written form. So it's just all like off the cuff, just completely devoid of thought. I wasn't thinking about anything when I wrote them. So whatever the subject matter, believe me, that was the furthest thing from my mind when I wrote that poem. I just write them as like, it enters my mind, So that's the unique thing about that poetry. To go check it out, again, go to www.mrhallziesblogs.com. And the way you support the poetry featured on my personal poetry page is to, share either the link to Hallzies Poetry Corner or a poem featured on Hallzies Poetry Corner across all platforms, as well as, hit the heart-shaped like button. And then they got a little comment box. You can write a little comment, leave me a little note, whether you liked it, whether you didn't like it, that'll help for the clicks and everything. So, don't be no stranger. Check it out. Hallzies Poetry Corner, www.mrhallziesblogs.com. Share either a link or a poem featured on Hallzies Poetry Corner across all platforms. And then also, remember to download this episode and all previously recorded episodes of the Narrator Podcast, wherever you get your podcast from. Same deal with the podcast. There's a little button, the download button. It's a little arrow pointing down. Click on that and download the episode of the Narrator Podcast. And then also click the little heart-shaped like button. And then also, leave me a comment. On the podcast, there's a little comment box to do that. So leave me a little note, whatever. I would suggest, clicking the link on X. Follow me on X, Halsey Allen, because it's just, you can navigate it better than the YouTube one. And you can do the features, you can download it and click the like button better on X as opposed to YouTube, but yeah. Well, that's it and that's all. Thank you all for listening this evening. Join me this weekend for another full episode of the Narrator Podcast. I'm Halsey Allen, and I'm changing the narrative one episode at a time. And I'm asking you to help me change the narrative by becoming a narrator. And while I'm changing the narrative one episode at a time on my end, to help me change the narrative on your end, you can help me change. You can change the narrative one social media post at a time. Until next time, Halsey Allen, Narrator Podcast, signing off. And it's like that.
Listening to the Narrative Podcast with Halsey Allen. The Narrative Podcast is changing the narrative one episode at a time.